Hey everybody, John here from the esports department, going over this afternoon's four-game LCS slate. This is not one of the more exciting ones that I've looked at recently, to be honest with you. I'm not super hyped for this one, but let's have a look at what we got. Cloud9 minus 575. They're 11-3 on the season. They're going to be up against Golden Guardians plus 350, 7-7 on the season. So motivation for Cloud9, I called it medium low. There's not very much chance that anybody else passes them to get into second. Um, they probably wouldn't mind winning the league, but I don't think it's that like regular season winning the league. But I don't think it's something that's insanely on their mind. Coming top two is significantly more important, and they're pretty close to having that locked up. Like they need another maybe win or two probably, and they'll be able to pretty much lock up top two. So I don't think they're going to be insanely motivated for this match. Golden Guardians, on the other hand, basically no motivation. They're not going to fall out of the playoffs, but they also have almost no chance of moving up in the playoff pecking order. So this might be a game with a decent amount of experimentation. It could be a kind of bloody one. Golden Guardians traditionally this season has not been super bloody, as you can see. 14.8 kill per win, 14.1 death per loss. Not super exciting numbers there, but in a matchup with Cloud9, like whoever wins is almost always going to be pretty bloody. That's just how Cloud9 matches go. So I think both sides of this matchup are pretty playable. The teams are definitely going to be willing to try some stuff out in this matchup. Golden Guardians is definitely a team that's good enough that if you make a big mistake as Cloud9, they're going to be able to capitalize on that. So I see no problem with playing the Golden Guardians side. And then, of course, from the Cloud9 side, like they're clearly the best team in the league. Even against another team, this just shows you how dominant they are. Golden Guardians has very good stats for NA, like plus 711 gold at 15 minutes, and they're still just dwarfed. 62% dragon percentage, still dwarfed. First blood, first turret, both go to C9. Gold differential per minute and gold differential both heavily to Cloud9. So obviously Cloud9 should be a huge favorite. They're minus 575. What are you expecting? But I think both sides of this matchup are very playable. Second matchup of the day, we got Team Liquid minus 345. They're 12-3 on the season, up against CLG plus 245, 5-9 on the season. So the motivation for Team Liquid is what I would call medium-low. It's kind of the same as Cloud9. They'd like to win the league, but really what's most important for them is going to be staying in the top two, and I don't think they're at much risk of losing that. So no real super motivation for Team Liquid. CLG, on the other hand, I would say medium motivation. With that loss yesterday from Dignitas, I think CLG is really likely to lock up this 8th spot, but they're not guaranteed yet. They still have 4 more matches to play. If they lose all those, I mean, yeah, they're probably going to fall out. So they need to get a win in here somewhere at least. And so I think they'll be at least reasonably motivated. The problem with this matchup is they're playing against like the least variant team in the league in Team Liquid. I just don't see CLG winning. I think Golden Guardians is significantly more likely to beat Cloud9 than CLG is to beat Team Liquid. Team Liquid is just so low variance, and this matchup projects to be very low scoring, as with most Team Liquid matchups. So this feels like one that you can easily avoid. It's unfortunately kind of another boring one where it's not even really worth looking at the stats because Team Liquid just destroys CLG in every stat. But as far CLG is just a team that I think I'm going to avoid, and Team Liquid feels like a team to avoid as well. We'll see when we get to the projections, but this feels like a very fadeable matchup to me. Third matchup of the day, FlyQuest minus 195. They're 8-6 on the season. Their motivation pretty low. I don't think that they are thinking that they're going to be able to shoot up into the top 2 here, which is the only real benefit for them. They're not going to fall out of the playoffs, so I'd say very low motivation for FlyQuest. On the other side, 100 Thieves, they're 5-9, plus 140 in the matchup. I put medium motivation for them. They're in the same spot as CLG. They'll be just as motivated as CLG probably, even though I don't think they need to be as motivated. Like I think 100 Thieves is definitely going to end up staying in the playoff picture here. But for the moment at least, they'll want to lock that up and get like at least one extra win here. So I think they'll be pretty motivated here to try to get a win. Looking at the stats for this one, 1770 for FlyQuest to 1744 for 100 Thieves, so a little advantage to FlyQuest there. The gold differential per minute is a monster difference though, plus 65 to minus 48. First blood, first turret, it's a higher first turret for 100 Thieves, but a higher first blood for FlyQuest. Dragon percentage is right about even, 53 and 54. And at 15 minutes, FlyQuest is plus 69. 100 Thieves is minus 378, so advantages to FlyQuest there. This matchup for NA does project to be reasonably bloody. 100 Thieves, one of the bloodiest teams in the league with a 17.6 skill per win, and FlyQuest gives up a decent amount for NA at 15. FlyQuest 16.2 to the 16.1, so 16 expectations pretty good for NA as well. So this feels like a high target matchup. Both sides seem very playable. Both sides I think will give up points if they lose. And the motivation level is not super high, so we could definitely see something a little bit weird or interesting in this matchup. So this feels, to me, without looking at the projections yet, like the best matchup we've seen so far. Last matchup of the day, the Toilet Bowl. Dignitas minus 125, 4-11 on the season, against Immortals minus 110, 3-11 on the season. For Dig, must win as far as I'm concerned. Like, they have 3 matches left, they need to win all of them to give themselves any sort of shot of making the playoffs, so this is must win for sure. Immortals at 3-11, I think their motivation is low because I don't even think they can get there. Like, even if they win this one and they go up to 4-11, that just puts them where Dignitas is. They'd still need to win out. I mean, they're probably going to try their best, but I don't think Immortals has any illusions that they're going to be making the playoffs this split. Look at the stats: 1663 to 1609. So advantage Dignitas. Goal differential per minute minus 147 to minus 246. First blood, first turret. Both teams sitting right around 35% at everything. Dragon percentage 41 to 40. At 15, it's negative 796 to negative 1509 for Immortals. So in the only place that anyone has any advantages, the advantages all go to Dignitas. This is just a terrible matchup. You can look at I think honestly when two teams like this play though, the scoring can usually be kind of good. I think this is a pretty good fantasy target matchup, even if it's just a terrible matchup overall. Dignitas has had a couple losses recently, and you can see it in their KPW DPL. When they lose, they're just doing nothing, like just sitting around and doing nothing. But, you know, that's the narrative too. We've heard the broadcast talk about it. We've seen it on Twitter and Reddit and stuff, people talking about it. That's got to make it more likely that Dignitas will come out with a little bit more fire. People are heavily criticizing them for just sitting around. Immortals, on the other hand, they've been reasonably bloody in their games. This just feels like a pick your side and get involved in this matchup a decent percent to me. We're going to have to see when we go to the projections, like I say, but this feels like a matchup where you want to get some involvement in this. So that one and the 100 Thieves FlyQuest one feel very good to be involved with. The Team Liquid CLG is going to be my fade, probably. And then C9 and Golden Guardians, another one that's worth targeting, I think. So you got 3 matches that are worth targeting there as far as DFS goes. Let's try to look at some ownership. This one's going to be, it's not going to be easy today for ownership. Oh, which one am I missing? TLCLG. Gotta think the lowest owned team on the slate is going to be CLG. I think Golden Guardians will probably be down here as well. All the rest of the teams here feel like reasonably targetable for people. The highest owned team on the slate is pretty much universally Cloud9, so I have to think it's probably going to stay that way. What's the pricing like though? 74, 8K, 8,200. So they're pretty expensive. Team Liquid is kind of cheap, so they're going to be like way over-owned. FlyQuest and 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves. 100 Thieves is very cheap. They're probably going to be pretty owned as well. What about Dignitas and Immortals? Both very cheap. FlyQuest is probably the team that's going to get left out here. Yep, I think so. I'm not sure if they're the next lowest owned, but I do think FlyQuest is going to end up kind of lower owned than you might think. Man, this is a really tough slate. Team Liquid honestly might be the highest owned team on this slate. This is a bold guess. I'm going to say there's a good chance I get it wrong today. I think this is a really, really tough slate to try to predict ownership on. But Team Liquid's just so cheap, you're going to be able to fit them with other people that you want to fit people with. And Cloud9 is going to be a lot harder to fit with like other big favorites and stuff. So let's go Immortals, FlyQuest, Dig, 100 Thieves won't be that high. Is it going to be Immortals that's going to be owned? This is just it's a really tough slate for me, guys. FlyQuest is going to be kind of low because they're so expensive. You can get Team Liquid, who's in an easier matchup. You can get Cloud9, who's in an easier matchup and is a higher scoring team. There's not a ton of reason to be looking at FlyQuest, so they have to be pretty low. 100 Thieves probably pairs well with both of those teams, which will help them. Dignitas, 7,200. How does Dignitas pair with Cloud9? That might help us figure this out. You can get a carry captain playing Dignitas with Cloud9, so I would think they're going to be kind of owned. What does FlyQuest and Cloud9 give you? Support captain. What about FlyQuest and Team Liquid? Ooh, you can get a mid captain with FlyQuest and Team Liquid. That makes me think FlyQuest is going to be higher. Team Liquid, Cloud9, FlyQuest, Dignitas, 100 Thieves, Immortals, Golden Guardians, CLG. Okay, this makes sense to me. It's a very tough slate for ownership prediction, but this makes sense to me. Okay, let's look at favorites here. It's FlyQuest, it's Cloud9, it's Team Liquid, it's Dignitas. Dignitas, like way up top for Viper anyway, and then FlyQuest in second, Team Liquid in third, Cloud9 actually projecting the worst in the top lane. In the jungle, it's Dignitas again, Cloud9, FlyQuest, and Team Liquid is last. In the mid lane, Power of Evil, Dignitas again in second, Team Liquid maintaining that kind of low number we were looking at, and C9 drops down to third or fourth there. At 80 carry, Dignitas again, so it's telling you, man, it's telling you Dignitas is where you want to be at, and Team Liquid is where you don't want to be at. That's basically the story of the slate. C9 and FlyQuest right in the middle, but it's saying Dignitas is a high target, and Team Liquid is a non-target, and that's pretty much what we would have thought just by looking at it. But that makes a lot of sense to me. I think that Dignitas Immortals match has a very high chance of just being like a complete fiesta kind of, despite the fact that Dignitas really needs to win. That game just has a lot of ability to go off the rails. And then I think Cloud9 makes sense as a secondary target. 100 Thieves has been giving up a lot of points, so FlyQuest makes sense. I think pretty much as long as you're not playing Team Liquid, you're looking like pretty good on that front. Let me look at the underdogs. I haven't been doing this for every video, but when it's interesting. So, yeah, Golden Guardians definitely showing off at top. If they happen to be Cloud9, I think that's 100% accurate. 100 Thieves in second, CLG and TL right down there in the bottom, and it doesn't like Immortals nearly as much as it was liking. Ooh, Insanity's projection did not get in here properly. Which is unfortunate. I have to go fix that in a minute, because I don't know where Insanity's projection is. At 80 carry, 100 Thieves maintaining the top along with Golden Guardians, so it's really telling you scoring-wise 100 Thieves and Golden Guardians, and then Immortals not projecting nearly as well as their counterparts in that matchup. Let's look at cash games real quick. It has to be Cloud9. It's always Cloud9. Cloud9 and Team Liquid just by far the biggest favorites. Feels like that's what you just have to play. Cloud9 and TL. Man, it's Team Captain though. Team Captain is just a letdown. I mean, I know it is North America where the scoring's not always very good, so maybe that's reasonable, but you're just, let's see, that's a 200.4. You gain like a full 10 points if you're willing to take FlyQuest. So C9 and FlyQuest with a support captain outprojects by about 4 points. And Team Liquid in FlyQuest, which I actually think is safer because I actually think Cloud9 is more likely to lose to Golden Guardians. Team Liquid in FlyQuest gives you a 210 with a carry captain. That makes a lot of sense. Like, I think FlyQuest is scary today, though. I think FlyQuest is a little bit scary. I think they could definitely lose to 100 Thieves. What happens? This might be a rare spot where I might advocate for something I don't usually advocate for. What happens if we left FlyQuest's team in there, but took out the FlyQuest players? Does that give us like any better? That gives you, it's still 4 Team Liquid though, which just doesn't do anything for you because their expectation is so low. When you were playing the team captain, hold on a second, gotta get those teams back. When you were playing the team captain, how many Cloud9 players were we getting? We were getting 3. Blabbers, Ven, Vulcan. This is just a tough slate, man. You're limiting your upside so much, but I mean, I guess like 25, 26 is a pretty good score for NA, and I could definitely see Team Liquid getting 25 to 28 fantasy points against CLG. And we're talking about cash, so we're just trying to be safe. I mean, yeah, this is the first time I've advocated it all season, but I think maybe the play is just to play Team Liquid, Team Captain. I really don't want to mess with FlyQuest versus 100 Thieves, and that Dignitas Immortals match is just not touchable. This feels like the only way to really make it work. Of course, what happened if we were projecting the teams for less points? Okay, well, okay, so this is just a mistake of the teams being overprojected, I think. I mean, they're not overprojected. Like, I actually really do think Team Liquid is going to score like 25 or 26 fantasy points, which actually makes them a better option than like Impact. But if you want, you can play a 3-3 with Impact Captain, with Broxa and Jensen. It's interesting actually that the teams outproject the top laners. It makes some sense though, with the way that NA's been scoring. So you kind of get the option. If you want the capped upside, but maybe a little bit safer, you can play that Team Liquid Captain. I think that's reasonable. If not, you can go with Impact Captain and play the 3-3 there, and I think that's reasonable as well. So leave an interesting choice on the table for you. I can't be a lineup seller where I just give you one option and say that's what you have to play. So just those are a couple different options you can mess with. The Team Captain I think is reasonable, and I think this Impact Captain lineup works as well. So up to you guys on that one. More interesting slate than maybe I thought it was going to be when I first looked at it, but yeah, it feels to me like you just get away from this TL CLG match and just find yourself involved in those other 3 and see how it goes. So that's all for me, guys. I will talk to everybody a little bit later. I got to get ready to go watch some LEC action here. I'll be on Twitter and Discord. Let me know if you need any help, guys.